What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into another episode and another week of an extra What the Fuck podcast. I know we just uploaded the episode yesterday, but we are back for another one, baby. Just Nick this time. Gunk is off doing all the TikTok stuff for the trade deadline, which is right now. There's about 10 minutes left before the actual deadline hits, but we have some trades to go over today. That is what I'm bringing you this quick video to recap. We have some big ones, we have some small ones. I'm going to go over who I think may be the winner, who may be the loser of some of these trades. And yeah, I want to get right into it. It's going to be very bare bones, quick stats, quick thoughts, and we will talk more about these trades as we see how these players play out for these new teams. Starting off, Washington and Pittsburgh started us off this morning, and Washington gets forward Anthony Beauvillier from the Pittsburgh Penguins. Beauvillier, in 63 games played this year, has 13 goals, 7 assists for 20 points. Pittsburgh gets a second-round pick this year. I think Washington is going to be the winner of this trade. They get the best part of the deal. Beauvillier is going to be able to strengthen up the bottom six or maybe that middle area of the Washington forward group. They are really just kind of getting small pieces to get ready for the playoffs. They have that first spot in the Metro locked up, probably maybe that first spot in the East. We'll see what happens with Washington, but Anthony Beauvillier is going to be a solid pickup for the team to be able to improve that bottom six, the bottom of that forward core, and really just try to get him in there and see what happens with the playoff run. Later today, we then had the Philadelphia Flyers trading forward Andrei Kuzmenko, the Kuzmeister, to the LA Kings. Kuzmenko in the season had 20 points with 6 goals and 14 assists. Philadelphia retaining half of that contract and receiving a third-round pick in 2027. This seems like a pretty solid trade. I mean, Philly got Kuzmenko as part of the Farabee trade to Calgary a couple months ago, and they were able to flip him now to get an asset, to get a pick. They're retaining half of his salary, which is not much, but yeah, Kuzmenko goes to the Kings. Pretty solid pickup there. Kuzmenko's always been a good player for Philly and Calgary when he played there, so this is just going to be another guy to really slot into maybe a second, third line role in Los Angeles. And we'll move on now to a couple smaller ones. I'll just blow through them real quick. Winnipeg gets Luke Schenn from the Pittsburgh Penguins, who had just gotten him from Nashville in the Tommy Novak trade. And Pittsburgh gets a second-round pick in 2026 and a fourth-round pick in 2027. Winnipeg again gets Brandon Tanev from Seattle. They are adding for their playoff run. They are hoping to make a deep one. With the team that they have, they got to do something. I think with Hellebuck playing the way he has, the team playing the way they have, they've looked really good. They had 11 in a row. And getting Luke Schenn and Brandon Tanev is going to help with that. Seattle in this trade gets a second-round pick in 2027. Detroit and Chicago. Chicago gets forward Joe Veleno, and Detroit gets Peter Mrazek back, and forward Craig Smith. Mrazek played for Detroit a couple years ago, and they get him back as a goaltending option. San Jose gets a 2025 fourth-round pick from the Columbus Blue Jackets, and Columbus gets player Luke Kunin. Kunin is a solid player and will be able to slot in for Columbus as they're trying to fight in the wild card race right now. They hold that top wild card spot. Could try to pass the Devils with the way the Devils have been playing recently. You may see something where Columbus could take that third spot, but we shall see. Toronto and Philly is back up on the board. Philly gets a first-round pick in 2026 and 21-year-old Nikita Grabenkin. Grabenkin, in 39 games played in the AHL, has 21 points. He is from the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs get Scott Laughton, and Scott Laughton has 27 points this year, and they also get a fourth and sixth-round pick. I think this is a really good trade for Philly. They were trying to get rid of Laughton already. They were listening last year and this year on a lot of different offers, and they're going to use that first round pick for something good, I think it's a good pickup to get next year's first round pick. Next year's draft is going to be a lot better than this year's, so getting a first next year is going to be a lot more valuable for this Flyers organization. And you can use Nikita Grabenkin. He is a pretty solid young guy, played a lot of games in the AHL, could slot into the Flyers lineup on the NHL. That's going to be a good project to work with, along with Michkov, along with all the other young guys that the Flyers can bring in. And Toronto gets a good center for their playoff run. They needed help in the middle. They can now have Scott Lawton be their third center, so they don't have to rely on having Max Domi as their third. And good trade for both sides, but I think Philly gets the edge in this one. Moving on. This one makes no sense. Buffalo makes no sense. I talk about them a lot. I've tried talking about them a lot, and they still just make no sense to me. Buffalo trades Dylan Cousins, who still has 5 years and $7.1 million on his contract, to the Ottawa Senators for Josh Norris, who has a similar contract, and Jared Bernard-Docker, who has 4 points this year. Norris is 25 years old. Docker is 24. Buffalo does not get better with this trade. In my personal opinion, I do not think they get better with this trade. Ottawa gets so much better with this trade. Cousins is, while similar in age to Norris, a better player, a faster, more fun, better in every aspect player than Josh Norris. Norris has 33 points this year, but I still think Cousins has potential that you have not been able to see because he's played in Buffalo. And with similar contracts, I think this is a fantastic pickup for Ottawa. Maybe Josh Norris works out in Buffalo. Maybe he does. But I don't think Josh Norris and Dylan Cousins are equivalents that you could trade. Ottawa also gets another player in this trade and a second-round pick next year. One of the bigger trades that came out near the end of the day, Boston acquires Casey Mittelstadt from the Colorado Avalanche. Mittelstadt has 34 points and 11 goals on the season, a 2025 second-round pick, and a player, Will Zellers, who was a third-round pick last year. Colorado gets Charlie Coyle, who has 22 points this year, and they also get a fifth-round pick next year. Boston, I think this is going to be a really good trade for. Mittelstadt is the better player in this deal, and I think they get a player like they traded away in Justin Brazeau last night. I was confused by that trade, but they bring in Mittelstadt, they bring in the better player, they replace Coyle. And I think this is a good move from Boston. You're going to want to try to get younger. You've gotten a little bit younger. Him and Brazeau are roughly the same age, so you get a more skillful player in Mittelstadt. And I feel like Charlie Coyle can be useful in Colorado. It's another center that they can add. They added Brock Nelson yesterday, and they got him from the Islanders. So I feel like Colorado and Boston were both able to make their way out of this trade with something decent, but I think Boston getting that better player in Casey Mittelstadt is really what's leaning the scales towards them. But we have that one last trade that I want to go over for the day before we wrap it all up here. Mikko Rantanen is on the move again. 13 games he played with the Carolina Hurricanes. What a train wreck I think this is for Carolina, and to see him get traded after being traded to the Hurricanes is just poor management on the entire front office of Carolina, and I think this is really good work by Dallas to make this trade work, to get a contract extension working. And we heard about it last night. It was just a matter of time before it all fell into place. It fell into place a little while ago. Mikko Rantanen going to the Dallas Stars, extended at 8 years for around $12 million. It's not quite the 14 million that he wanted, but 8 years for 12 million for Mikko Rantanen, a player that is going to give you so much fantastic hockey for a majority of that contract. And with the cap going up, you can bring in more guys to try to keep building around this. I think you can. This is a fantastic team now. And you get your guy. You have a lot of other guys on this team that are fantastic players, superstars. This is another one of your guys. Carolina gets Logan Stankoven, a younger guy, has proven himself to be a fantastic and up-and-coming hockey player in Dallas. I think Stankoven is really going to be able to try to fit well into the Carolina system. Carolina also gets 2 first-round picks. We'll wait on the years for those picks and everything as we hear more about it. But yeah, that was the biggest trade so far of the day was Mikko Rantanen going to Dallas from Carolina. Carolina loses the player that they traded Marty Necas for. I think I would still rather have Marty Necas right now than Logan Stankoven, but I'm not the GM of the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll see what this trade has in store for us in the future. But so far, yeah, that's the NHL trade deadline. A lot of smaller trades, but it was a seller's market. We had a lot of trades early throughout the week and yesterday. So we will be back to talk with you more about the trades and everything that the Rangers and Devils make. And we'll finish up more on all the trade deadline stuff. I've been Nick from the What the Puck podcast. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys real quick on this trade deadline day. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. It's been fantastic. Love y'all. Talk to you later. Peace.